People use the word windmill and they think of a little something in a mini golf, but actually today's wind turbines are massive skyscraper-sized objects that are a blight on to the eyes and a danger. Joining us now is Jim Wilson, an MPP from the Collingwood area. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sergeant.
Who came up with the bright idea to build some skyscraper-tall wind turbines near the end of the Collingwood airport?
Well, it's a German company called WPD Canada, and they've had this proposal around for a couple of years, and of course it's under the Liberal government's very expensive and highly subsidized feed-in tariff program. And the only reason we're given to date that they're so close to the airport is there was a local farmer who agreed to rent them the land. And no one's mad at the local farmer because he gets a lot of money, more than he'll get for his crops. But the fact of the matter is these will be the tallest in Canada. They're almost as tall as the Toronto Dominion Tower. And the local people were within 5 kilometers of the escarpment. And a total of 8 windmills proposed. 2 are actually within what they call the outer surface, which is that 2.1 nautical imaginary circle around the airport, where no object is to be more than 150 feet off the ground, so that if you were a pilot unfamiliar with the airport and it was foggy or snowy, and we are in the snow belt, then you could be assured that when you're within that radius, 2.1 nautical miles, you're not going to run into anything. You can go down as low as 200 feet and you won't run into anything. These things, of course, are 500 feet plus.
So you got 500 feet strategically painted white, will be perfect in the winter time for pilots doing the place. And you're saying that there's a rule that things aren't even allowed to be half that height. Well, which rule trumps which? How can they possibly? I mean, I'm against wind turbines for a whole bunch of reasons.
Right.
They're a huge waste of money. They don't actually produce more energy than they take. They don't work half the time when it's not windy. They're expensive. They're a blight, etc. But to build them near an airport is just, that's begging for a disaster.
Absolutely.
Who's in charge of enforcing the rules for height around an airport?
Well, when I asked the Liberal government about this before they prorogued, so I asked them about last November in the Ontario legislature, and they said, well, there's all safety's first. Chris Bentley was the energy minister at the time. Safety's first. There'll be community meetings. You know, when I've heard about those, Mr. Wilson, they won't build those. And of course, they're still going ahead, and the ministry is...
8 of them, you say?
There's 8 of them. And Transport Canada doesn't have any rules. So it turns out no one thought any government, the McGuinty Wind government, would be so stupid as to build 500-foot windmills near an airport that there are no rules.
What are
there
the
are
pilots
no federal
saying?
rules.
What are the pilots saying? What is the
Canadian
airport
Pilots
saying?
Association and the Ontario Pilots Association have warned their junior members that aren't familiar with the airport to stay away from it right now. And that's hurting us tourism, and that's hurting us economically for economic development right now, and the things aren't even built. So, you know, pleased to get the word out. We're hoping through public opinion, everybody up there is against it, that the Liberal government come to its senses and cancel this application.
You know, I follow energy very carefully in other fields like oil sands and pipelines, and I'm amazed at the kind of in-depth investigations that these pipelines have to go through. I mean, the Keystone XL pipeline has been under review for like 5 years.
Right.
The Northern Gateway pipeline to the West Coast will be for many more years, having 4,000 people testifying. What is the environmental, the economic, and the community impact process for building these 500 feet vibrating, noisy, pilot-endangering eyesores? Do we have a similar review process for wind energy that we do for oil sands energy?
Well, it's an excellent question. Of course, the answer is no. You have no rights out of the municipal council. I mean, I can tell you as a member of municipal council where to put your drive shed or your garage. They have no say. And of course, I've introduced a private member's bill, as have other members of the legislature, to bring back planning powers under the Municipal Act so that the local community can have say.
So when that Liberal cabinet minister told you, oh, we're going to have consultations, that's just sort of a PR exercise. It's not binding at all. It's just like a town hall meeting, and then they can say, we're out of here. Boy, now let's go back to the city when they have 5-star hotels. Let's get out of this small town.
Yeah, and in this case, we've had a couple of public consultations, which were the company not even taking questions from the audience. Just
so consultation is simple country folk listen while we German solar and wind experts
Absolutely. They were at the Stainer Arena one night, and they wouldn't take any questions. And,
wouldn't take any
And under the Green Energy Act, which Mr. McGuinty brought in and Ms. Wynne supports, they're allowed to do that. So you have no rights at all, and it's the only sector where you have no rights. I mean, the municipality has zoning powers for just about everything else you can think of under the sun, but the Green Energy Act overrode those. Now, my hope is that the last stop that Premier Wynne made was Collingwood, and she did a radio show up there just before the weekend convention of the Liberal Convention, and she met with roundtable business people, at a roundtable with business people, and the major concern they had was these windmills as a local issue. And she did undertake, said she would go back and talk to her energy minister. Well, we're 3 weeks into the House now, and I can't get an answer out of her now either. So.
Now, I thought that Pierre Poilievre, a federal MP from the Ottawa area, had made an announcement that there was going to be a health study on any more windmill construction. Was that just a PR release by him, or does that have any teeth on these Collingwood skyscrapers?
Well, the Ontario PC Party's also adopted that position,
but Poilievre's part of the government,
yeah,
federally.
Federally, but they're having the study, but there's no moratorium in place, and the moratorium would have to come at the provincial level to stop.
I think we need some massive class action lawsuits. I tell you, if this was going ahead in oil or any other hydrocarbon energy source, there would be lawsuits and protests. Because it's wind, everyone shuts up when there's clearly inappropriate. Jim, you keep up that fight.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here on the show.